These little potato dumplings are called pierogies, and this is a shortcut way of making them.
Let's see what's cooking. It's time for yoyomax12.
Hello everyone, starting off with 2 cups of cooked and cooled mashed potatoes. To this you're going to season them by adding salt and pepper. Started off with a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and then I added in a 1/2 cup of flavored cream cheese, and I used the herb and roasted garlic, but you can use any flavor you want, or you could just use plain cream cheese. I stirred that together. Also added a little bit of extra salt. I added about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I added in about a 1/2 cup of shredded cheese. I use a cheddar mozzarella blend, but you can use whatever you want. That's one thing about pierogi filling, is you can add whatever you want to the potato to flavor it. And here comes the shortcut part of the recipe. We're going to use these wonton wrappers instead of the traditional pierogi dough. And because pierogi dough is usually little circles, we're going to turn this square wonton into a circle by using a 3-inch cookie cutter. And it's not a perfect circle because the cookie cutter was a little bit too big. But you know what? As long as you have a rough circle shape, that's fine. And you actually lose very little wonton dough that way. You're going to take a little bit of egg white and a pastry brush and just dampen just the outer edges a little bit. That's going to help us seal them up a little bit later. And in the center, we'll place about a tablespoon of the potato filling. And then you're just going to fold the edges over and press together to seal, and you'll get a little pierogi. Now, if you don't care about the traditional shape of the pierogies, you can just make a triangle shape and not cut the wonton at all, and then that'll actually cut down on the time. So once it's sealed together, you have a little crescent-shaped traditional dumpling, and that is the traditional pierogi shape. Set that aside, and we'll make some more. Now, when you're all done, you're going to bring a large pot of water to a boil, and then just put the pierogies in. Do about a dozen or so at a time. And you're going to cook them 2 or 3 minutes until they start to float. And that may be hard to tell when it's at a rolling boil, but if you just pull it off the heat just a little, you can see how they all are nicely floating at the top, and that's how you know they are done. Then I'm going to scoop them out using a slotted spoon, or you can drain them in a colander. And I'm putting them directly into a skillet you can see in the background there that has some melted butter in it. Now you're going to heat that skillet that has the pierogies and the butter in it, and you're going to fry these, turning them a couple of times until they're nice golden brown on both sides. Now, these things stick together like crazy once they've been boiled, so I don't recommend you put as many in a skillet as I did. I would cook them maybe 12 at a time, just so that they don't stick together and so that it's just a little bit easier to do. Ultimately, I managed to fry all these up, even though there was a little bit overcrowded. As you can see, I just cooked them until they're just a little bit brown on both sides, and it kind of makes them a little bit crispy. Now, this recipe that I made about 45 of them. If you don't want them all and you don't want to eat them all that same day, you can just, before you boil them, pop them into a Ziploc bag and freeze them just like this in a single layer. And then when you're ready to cook them, take them out frozen right out of the freezer, plop them in some boiling water, and then continue on with the recipe. Now, these are traditionally served with some fried onions and bacon sometimes with some sour cream. So you can do that if you'd like, and that's what I did here. There's some bacon and fried onions. This was dinner that day. We had pierogies, we had some yellow beans, and I also made some pork chops. These are just pork chops with some porchetta seasoning on the edges of them. These are really, really good. Okay, now these don't taste quite like pierogies. Not really. I mean, the pierogi flavor comes from the filling as well as the dough, and this particular wonton dough doesn't have the texture or the flavor of a traditional pierogi. So I would call these more like potato dumplings. They're still really good though, and they're good with the bacon and the onions, and of course with the sour cream. These would be awesome as a appetizer for a party. Just call them potato dumplings, not pierogies. Now, if you're looking for a traditional pierogi, I do have a recipe video on my channel of showing you how to make these. So go ahead and click on the box on the left or the right to see this video. Now, these are absolutely delicious. They are a bit time consuming, but if you make a big pile of them, they make a great meal you can put in the freezer and just pop out when you need them. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.